is, why would I pay for DanceLib if I can already watch and clip YouTube videos anyway? Hi, my name's Steve Fitz, and in this video I want to break down how I'm using DanceLib and how it's changed what I'm doing in relation to my training and my growth, specifically regarding West Coast swing, but this would be true for anyone learning any style of dance. So as part of this video, I want to take you on a little bit of a dance journey. I want to show you what I was doing before I was using DanceLib, how I would manage my own growth, my own learning in West Coast swing. And then I want to show you what I now do in DanceLib and how much easier it is. So in this video, I'm breaking it up into chapters so you can skip ahead. And if you are considering DanceLib, then I also have a code. I am an affiliate. They reached out to me and said, hey, listen, if you want to promote it, you can. If you decide to take a trial of DanceLib and you decide, you know what, I think I'm going to buy in, you can get a 20% discount using my DanceLib code when you check out your purchase on DanceLib. Regardless of that though, I use this app all the time. I've learned a lot of things. You may have seen a number of videos that I'm showing what I've learned from DanceLib, and I'm showing how Amanda and I are doing it side by side with the pros and some takeaway lessons from that. So if you found this video and maybe I don't cover everything you want to know, leave a comment and just ask whatever questions you may have, and I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. So let's dive in. Okay, so before DanceLib, this was my process. I would watch countless YouTube videos and I would see different snippets of things I thought, oh, that'd be cool to learn. Like, I wonder how they did that. So then I would add that to a playlist that I created called West Coast Swing to Clip. So then I would just throw those in as I was watching YouTube. And then when I had some spare time, I would go through and I would find the clip. And then I might watch the whole thing again. And I'd say, okay, oh, yeah, it was this move. This is what I want to learn. So then I would open up Camtasia, which is what I'm using right now to film this. And I would go find that section. Then I would screen record it so then I could organize this. Then I would throw it into Dropbox and I would put it in a shared folder so that Amanda could see it and say, hey, this is my list of things that I want to learn. Once we learnt that, I would film it. And then after a while, it became so busy with how many things we'd learned, I kept forgetting what it was I wanted to train and wanted to practice. So I realized I've got to get more organized. So what I then did is I then created a Notion board, which is an app that I use for business, but also for personal things, just to be organized. And then I went and created a system so that I could see, well, these are all the things that I've learned. And this is, as I'm trying to practice, I could look at this and go, yeah, this is something that I want to practice at the moment. So to give you an example, just to create this, I would go and say, oh yeah, I learned this Zoot whip. It happened to be Ben Morrison, Tori Zowie. I would fill in these details. I would then put a link to what we learnt. This was the move that we learnt. So then I would put that into this system so I could see everything. I'd keep some notes, keep the close to a follower, keep close to the follower when I'm leading the spins. I'd then go fill out this, and then I'd go, well, when I'm out and using my mobile app for this, I'd had to create something so I could visually see what the heck this is, because I didn't know half the names of these moves, or they became really complicated. So this was just called a Zoot whip. I wanted to create something. So then I would go into Canva and I would create this little slide and take clips of the actual movement and go, this is what this is. And I could see, oh yeah, this is Ben and Tori doing that Zoot whip. Okay, yeah, that's what I want to practice. And when I was learning these moves, I'd say, well, when I go to the social, I want to try some of these things out. And I had so many moves. So I created filters on this and I would say, yeah, am I going to practice this? Yes. And then when I looked at my filter, I'd go, show me all the moves that I'm practicing. And it would show me a short list of 3 or 4 moves. And then I'd just look at it and go, okay, ask someone to dance. And then I'd try that move on them to help me refine my lead and see dancing with different level followers to see whether they would follow what I'm actually leading. And then if they didn't, or I couldn't quite get it, I'd go back to Amanda the next week and say, yeah, this didn't kind of work with such and such. They did this, and she'd sort of troubleshoot and say, yeah, that's because this hand was too high, or you didn't give them enough rotation, or whatever it was. And then I'd go keep that on my to learn list or practice list and do all of this stuff, right? And so this just became bigger than Ben-Hur. As you can see, there's a lot of things that I've learned. You'll see all sorts of pros, lots and lots of Sammy and Maria, who I love, Jacob and Emmeline, Robert Royston and Tara's over here, Ben and Maria over here, Australia's own Zach Skinner and Russia's Razor is there. So I would go and learn all these things, and this was how I could be organized, because otherwise I'm learning something and I would just forget it after a few months. A lot like when we go to classes and we just don't stay on top of what we're learning, especially when we want to retain something in particular. So I also came up with an idea of saying, this is going to be a signature move. This is going to be something that I will take, that I'll do, that I don't see all that often, but I want it as part of my repertoire, if you like, of things that I would lead. Then I've got fundamentals, which are just things that everyone should know as I was learning more fundamentals. And then I've got some improv type movements, which are something that might just be spur of the moment. Not so much a led thing, but there's options and ways to think about connection and movement. That's how I would be organized before DanceLib. It took me forever just to be organized. And I can just say I am so grateful that I'm not doing this anymore, because it was such a time sink. Although the learning and everything was fantastic, the growth that I had was fantastic. This is really me choosing my West Coast swing adventure of saying, this is what I want to add to what I can do when I'm dancing. Is different to what I'm taught in. I go to 3 different classes, but they weren't teaching what I really wanted to learn in terms of movement and styles. So this was the way I did it. That all changed, thank goodness, because of DanceLib. So when you come into DanceLib, you get to choose a few things and you start to browse around. And this is what I do now, is I literally choose the style that I'm dancing. My core style is West Coast swing. I'll then look at this and say, well, what is it that I want to learn? And I might want to do something that's more advanced. And currently what I'm doing, and which I really love, is I can choose which people I want to learn from. And at the moment, we're learning a lot of Maxence and Nini movement. And the reason being is because they dance in a certain way where there's a really big emphasis on connection and using each point of connection continuously. It's quite a little bit different to the way that we're taught in Australia. And when I watch Maxence dance in particular, and the way he moves and connects and uses those connection points, same with Nini when she's dancing with other people, it's kind of a different style of West Coast swing to what I'm used to. So we're focused on this at the moment. I can look at these and quickly watch a clip and then say, oh, yeah, I really like that particular one. So, for example, in this one, this is a different type of movement. I don't know if you can see this or if it's too small. I might say, yeah, this is cool. I'm going to add this to a playlist. And I have different playlists that I've created on the side here. I have a list with Amanda. So Amanda also has DanceLib. We look at this and we say, let's have a look at the moves that we like or that we want to learn, or the shapes we want to create, connection points we want to learn and train. And this is what we do. We go and create this list and begin to work from it, so that when we catch up, I take my laptop, we open it to this and say, do you want to learn this one? Yep, let's do this. Once we've learnt it, we say, okay, we might put a copy of this into the film. So you just click here, add it to another playlist, click on the film and then add it there. And then we know we're going to record that at some point so that we've got it for our own record. And once it's done and I like it, after using it, I'll dance it for a while and I'm like, do I really want to embed this into my dancing? Do I really want to make this a core fundamental move that I continually do and I want to learn and refine it and play with it and, shape it differently and all the rest? if that's the case, like I did before, where I would go on an app and I would look for what is it that I'm trying to train when I'm dancing with other people as well on the social floor, now I just add it to my favorites list. And so when I go to a social dance and I'm thinking, what am I training at the moment? I'll look at this, I'll open up my favorites. I'll go, oh, here's this, leader basket inside turn ronde with circular motion by Jakub and Emmeline. It's something that I learned. It's like, well, this is what I'm going to learn, or this is what I'm just going to practice tonight. So I'll watch it and I'll say, yeah, okay. And I just have it in my mind, this is what I'm doing. And then each dance that I have for that night, I'm just going to practice that one move. And once I'm happy with that, I unclick the favorite and it goes into my list of learned moves, which is here. And this is all just stuff that I've learned so far using DanceLib, where I just know, okay, these are the things I've learned in the past. These are my favorites that I'm learning and practicing and training. Then beyond this, another thing that we do with our DanceLib, and they've only just introduced this, which is the MyLib, and it's in beta at the moment. But what we can do here is we can film ourselves doing something that we've created as we've collaborated together and we're working on something, we create this different movement. Then we can upload this to our library ourselves and say, this is something else we're working on. That's our own. It's our own movement. Maybe it was the idea came from some shapes that we made in some other pattern and that gave us ideas, and we went down this rabbit hole of all these different movements. And we put it together and created this combination where we can now look at this. We can now look at this and just say, yeah, this is what we're sort of working on and playing around with. And, putting it together so that we have a better understanding of what we're doing and how we're moving and how it connects, and just giving ourselves ideas. So this is a very new feature. But I'm sure we're going to start using that more often. So if you've taken a trial of DanceLib, you'll know that DanceLib has multiple levels, and you can start with beginners and learn all the fundamental movements from beginners. And the great thing about DanceLib and learning from multiple teachers is that each teacher often presents a different way of teaching beginners. And it's very different to what I've experienced. So I've done beginners classes for multiple years from different teachers, because it's always sort of a good warm-up for the intermediate or the advanced classes. And when I do beginners in Perth, where I live, everyone has their own flavour, their own style. But as I look at the beginners from other teachers, they teach different concepts. And so I was kind of surprised that learning or looking and reviewing the beginners' movements was often suggesting that, here's something that I could try that would add to my, let's say, repertoire of movement. And a good example of that is Jakub and Emmeline, who I love as dancers. They have a different way of connecting and different way of moving in their dancing. And so in their beginners courses, they're often teaching and introducing concepts for hand changes or head ducks, or even just rotational movement. And that's something that no one really teaches a lot in the beginners where I am. They might teach one or two simple hand changes, but not more complex ones. They don't teach head ducks at all. In fact, that's something that probably isn't taught a whole lot as a rule, even in the intermediate classes that I go to. And when I watch them, it's like, oh, there's an idea. I can get into this move or get into that move by making a hand change off a passing tack or something like that, which is something that I can do, but it just plants a different idea. And it's not difficult, but by doing it and having some repetition with doing it, you tend to do those moves more often. So I thought it'd be good to show you an idea that I've had where I've learned something that's more complex from Semi and Maria, which actually is a throwback to part of that ride that I learned a couple of years ago, also from Semi and Maria. And then by looking at the beginners and intermediate moves from Jakub and Emmeline and Maxwell and San Virginie, I was able to then say, okay, well, with this hand change, I could do it in a different way that would set me up to complete this move, which is this expert move from Semi and Maria, which just gives me more options and more variety. Using YouTube compared to DanceLib is interesting because there's a different perspective that I'd like to bring. This is an old move that I learned from Sammy and Maria back in 2022 from YouTube. So I clipped it, we learned it, and then we learned this new move that they've just come out with in the expert level. Well, because DanceLib has multiple levels, I decided to look at, well, what are they teaching beginners? What are they teaching in the intermediate and advanced? And then how can I learn different elements from those different stages or different levels? And as you can see, like I took a concept from Jakub and Maline's with a hand change, which might introduce a different way of doing this expert move by Sammy and Maria. Again, I looked at Maxence and Nini's move and said, okay, they do a hand change and a whip. Maybe I can use that to then perform this move and then apply this to the expert level, the same move that I learned from Sammy and Maria. So no matter what the levels are in DanceLib, you can always take something from it and adapt it to the different techniques that you're learning. So here are my top 8 ideas of why I think DanceLib is such a great investment for me. The first reason is just the simplicity of finding new dance moves. They're all there, they're all clipped. I can see them from multiple angles, and rather than having to watch countless YouTube videos in the hope of finding something from someone that I like, I can literally just go there and say, well, what style of dancer do I like and who would I like to learn from? And I can watch a couple of clips and then bam, I've got something new to work on. Number 2, like I said, is learning from other world-class dancers and dance teachers. They all have their own style as they develop and become more advanced in West Coast swing. And so being able to say, look, I want to look at their style and really employ some of that and learn some of those ways is a really excellent way of getting that instruction just by watching and learning what they're doing and how they're doing it. It really changes the way you think about West Coast swing and movement in general. The third thing is obviously learning new techniques. So for some people, if they haven't done rides before, then there's some great rides. If you're thinking about learning more about, say, head ducks or whips or something like that, and you want to add those, there's these great filters in DanceLib where you can say, look, show me just these, and you can enter the tags that you want to search for so you can just see those patterns. So as an example, one of the people I train with is wanting to get better with her head ducks. And so we just went on DanceLib, put in head ducks, and then all of a sudden we've got a whole bunch of movements that we can train where she can then become more familiar in doing a head duck in those different patterns or in those different ways. And on the back of that, like I said, there's number 4, which I put down as exploring the themes. So thinking about, well, what do I want to learn? How do I want to train? And then looking for themes that you can select from different teachers. And the tags and everything make that so easy. But you might also say, you know what, another theme might be, I want to dance in this particular style, like say Sammy and Maria, who I think are very clean. They use a lot of leverage and resistance and support type movements, and they have beautiful lines. You know, they're both beautiful dancers and they look amazing. So if you want to learn that and then become better at that, you can watch their movement, record it, take note, how they're placing their legs, how they're positioning their hands, and just develop that overall look and feel for your dance. The next thing is being able to create your own playlist and have your favorites. I think this is a big time saver for me, but I train with a number of people, so I have different lists. I have my main one with Amanda, who is my primary training partner, but I also have level 1 and level 2 when I have time and I'm training with someone else who wants to learn, and this is sort of their level of dance and they want to sort of broaden their scope of understanding. We create lists for those, and then we actually train those movements from those lists as well. And then the favorites just makes it easy for me just to come back as a reference and say, you know what, this is what I'm training, this is what I'm learning, and this is what I want to practice in my social dance time so I can just throw those in easily and just remember what it is I wanted to incorporate into my own dance. So number 6 is about training collaboratively when you're learning. And so this is something that I've developed over time with Amanda, because I've trained with her for a number of years. But I do this with other people that I train with. And it's about actually working together and figuring things out. There's a real depth of learning that you get from that. So if you go to a class and you have an instructor that's teaching you something, and then you copy the pattern, and then you start to figure it out, and then you start to throw it into your dancing, you don't always understand why you do what you do, because you were just told, move here, step there, rotate here, and it can become kind of almost robotic. Part of the thing that I did like about DanceLib that I wasn't really aware of or didn't think I might was there's a lack of explanation. So by that I mean they show themselves, the pros doing the movement. There's multiple camera angles so you can see when they're shifting off the slot or the way they're turning, and you can change those angles to get a better idea and understanding. But when you're training it and when you're learning these movements, you're continually giving each other feedback on the movement and the connection and where to step and the timing and all these kind of things. That is a great process of discovery. So, for example, there's an expert move that I did, which is Maxence and Nini. And because they threw in this ride and this point of connection when Maxence would put her hand on his neck, she would then use that point of connection to swing into a ride, which he then would adapt to and continue. And something like that we could teach as a pattern, and you could learn as a pattern, and it becomes mechanical. And then as we did this more and more, we realized, no, they're actually using these points of connection. It changed the whole dynamic. But the benefit is us being able to communicate that with each other verbally, figuring out why it works, why it wouldn't work in some cases. And that's really been valuable. So I really like the MyLib section, and I think we're going to really use that a lot, because often we come up with things that we try to put together, or we come up with an idea of how to move in certain situations, and that kind of can get lost sometimes. So having this place where I can throw that up on DanceLib and actually then reference it later and look at it and say, oh yeah, I remember this movement. And again, I can add my own tags, my own headings, all those kind of details so that it becomes easily searchable later is a really great feature. And finally, number 8 is being able to share playlists. So this is a new feature that DanceLib are rolling out. And they're really responsive too. They've listened to a bunch of ideas that people have already had, and they're continually iterating and improving the app itself. But sharing playlists is going to be a game changer, I think, because I can add a playlist and say, hey, I'm thinking of putting this together. Amanda and I are already talking about doing some mini short choreographies. So we can find these ideas, have a shared playlist, both put ideas into there of movements that we think might work in that choreo, and that's going to be another time saver just because we'll be able to collaborate more easily. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I do have a coupon code which will save you 20% on your first purchase. The coupon code is SteveFits20, lowercase or uppercase, doesn't matter. So that's just SteveFits20 if you want to save 20%. It is off your first purchase. So if you've already purchased DanceLib, unfortunately I don't think it works. You can always try it, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't work. But if you are thinking about DanceLib, if you take a 1-month subscription, you'll only get 20% discount off that month's price. If you take an annual subscription, you'll get 20% off the annual price. Just to keep that in mind, if you do want to use that coupon code, go ahead. I am an affiliate, so what that means is you'll get a discount and I'll receive something in return. I don't think it's going to be game-changing on my end. I don't know, maybe after a couple of years, if enough people sign up, it'll help me buy a new pair of dance shoes or something. I'm not going to be rich from it, but more importantly, I think people ask me how I train and what I do. This is what I do. So I just really wanted to share that with you, and the fact that you get 20% off, I think is a real bonus for you. So use that code SteveFits20 on checkout for your discount. So if you've made it this far, I want to say thanks for watching. I wanted to share with you my honest opinion on DanceLib and the pros and cons of what I thought I was getting into and then what I actually got. I really do enjoy the simplicity of it. It's been a real asset for my own learning. I hope it is for you as well. Anyway, if you have any other questions, leave a comment. And if you want to see me break down some things that I'm learning on DanceLib, like and subscribe to my channel, and you'll see me do some breakdowns on the particular movement that I'm learning and some takeaway lessons as a result of that. Thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you one day on the dance floor.